Joining me now is someone who knows a thing or two about Donald Trump's demands for loyalty. He even wrote a book about it. Michael Cohen has previously served as Donald Trump's personal attorney for over a decade. He's the best-selling author of the book Disloyal, a memoir, and Revenge, how Donald Trump weaponized the Department of Justice against his critics, both of which are remarkably important right now. He's also the host of the Mea Culpa and Political Beatdown podcasts. Michael, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Good to see you, Ali.
You've touched on this whole loyalty idea. It's not just an idea. Prosecutors understand it from organized crime, but you understand it because you worked with Donald Trump.
I lived it.
You lived it. So talk to me about this. Jenna Ellis posting, why are these people not paying for my defense? Rudy Giuliani apparently has been scraping and scratching to Donald Trump to get him to try and pay for his defense. Why is Donald Trump not paying for their defense, and what is the consequence of that?
Well, the consequence, you can see what's going on right now. I had asked, and during a joint defense agreement, for Donald to continue to pay. He did not, and we see now what's happening with him. Talk about karma boomerang. Everything that I have said, every warning that I have given to Rudy, given to Jenna Ellis, given to Sidney Powell, I've given to all of them on shows like yours. Donald cares for no one or anything other than himself. Why he refuses to make the payments when it's not even his money? It's a head scratcher to me. I don't understand it. He's seen the consequences of allowing people to exit, the fealty. And that's really what it is. It's fealty to Donald. Look at what happens when you allow these individuals to leave. Let's not also forget that Rudy, at one point in time, turned around and said, I have evidence. I have an insurance policy.
Right.
Well, was he bluffing the way Donald bluffs? Seems so to me.
One wonders, because I'm looking at this is the Georgia counts, and this is just count 41, one of 41. It names everybody in there, starting with Donald J. Trump. And Trump said yesterday, I don't know who some of these people are, and it's quite possible he doesn't know who the fake electors were. But the top of this list is Rudolph William Louis Giuliani, John Charles Eastman, Mark Randall Meadows, Kenneth John Chesebro, Jeffrey Bossert Clark, whom he tried to make acting attorney general, Jenna Lynn Ellis, who was his lawyer standing next to Rudolph William Louis Giuliani. He certainly knows the first 6 people on this list very, very well. So they've all got stuff on him. Is he not worried about that?
Donald doesn't think like a normal human being. He doesn't see, for example, a trial, which is coming up in October. He doesn't see it as a trial coming up in October. It's eternity away, because his whole life has been predicated on the process of delay. And so October's really October of 2025. We'll figure out how to delay it. Again, you talked about it in your opening. His hope is that he's able to secure the presidency in order to protect himself from prison.
Right, because when he was president, he leaned on the fact that you can't prosecute a sitting president and Office of Legal Counsel guidance. Now he's running for president, and he feels that that's a witch hunt and that's politicization. And of course, if he were to win the nomination, he'll argue that now this is very political. And if he wins the presidency once again, he's home free.
Well, so you listen to a lot of pundits that say, well, you're not really home free because you still have the Manhattan District Attorney case. Right. You now have the Fani Willis District Attorney case, and those are not pardonable based upon federal jurisdiction. I disagree.
Okay.
Because I think it would cause a constitutional issue that this country has never seen before. How are they going to come and get him? Are you going to tell me that local authorities are going to go to Washington or to any location that Donald is at and arrest him?
Try and arrest him, because Secret Service will stand there and say you can't get him.
Of course you can't. So, I mean, their job is to guard him. So this would create a constitutional issue that this country has never seen. But that's exactly what Donald wants. He's pushing the line every single day further and further and further by doing the things that he does. He knows what he's doing. He does know what he's doing. He also knows that he's guilty. But of course, in order to play to his supporters, he'll never, of course, acknowledge it. Why would he? Because he's grifting off of them.
Who do you think is the linchpin here? Obviously, in the January 6th indictment, Rudy Giuliani is an unindicted, unnamed co-conspirator. In the Georgia indictment, Rudy Giuliani's all over the thing. Sidney Powell's all over it. John Eastman, we know what his role was. Ken Chesebro, we know what his role was. Mark Meadows, the chief of staff, he shows up nowhere in the January 6th indictment and all over the Georgia indictment as an indicted co-conspirator. Who's the one they need the most?
Well, there's actually more than one. And if any one of them ends up turning, it's destruction for the rest. Rudy, for sure. Mark Meadows, for sure. And Eastman, for sure.
Do you know Rudy well? Did you deal with him a lot?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. Where do you think he is in this whole thing? Because he has seemed to have been desperate for Donald Trump to continue to pay his legal fees. He's got to be pretty upset that that hasn't come to pass.
And if he's not, there's something wrong with him. He's watching his entire legacy explode. You know, a lot of people they ask me, how come you ended up deciding to cooperate?
Yeah.
And the answer is, when I watched Donald Trump sitting with his arms folded at the chair during a interview.
Right after you had been arrested.
Correct. And I remember him turning and saying, it's disgusting what the FBI just did. They raided one of my lawyer's home, hotel, and law office. It's
right.
The end of attorney-client privilege. And I start thinking to myself, whoa, one of my attorneys? Really? The guy who you called every single day at 4 in the morning and 11 at night? The guy who, while on vacation, you're speaking to him hundreds of hours? This is a guy who doesn't have a name? That's Donald Trump. Right. And I will say it again on this show, hoping that someone like Rudy or Eastman or, Mark Meadows watching, Donald doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about you one bit. He will use you as the scapegoat, and the system will use you as the scapegoat in order to get somebody. They will get them to turn, because these three could easily end up in the same situation that I ended up. And I can promise you something. It's not fun.
I want to ask you about something you know about. The legal findings by the indicted fake electors in Georgia use the language, the ones who are trying to get their case moved to federal court, they say at the direction of Donald Trump. Now, this is the exact language used in the 2018 sentencing memo in your case, which read, quote, as Cohen himself has now admitted with respect to both payments, we're talking about the payments, the hush money.
I never made a payment, by the way, so it's actually, the record was wrong. I never made the payment for Karen McDougal. That was made by
just one
David
payment.
Pecker and AMI.
Okay, so as Cohen has now admitted with respect to, as they're saying both payments, you're saying one payment, he acted in coordination with and at the direction of individual one.
And for the benefit of individual number one. The same thing with these folks.
So that's never a good sign, right? When your co-defendants are actually saying that about you, that can't be good.
Of course it's not good. And exactly what happened to me, I predict is going to happen to all of the 18 co-indicted defendants. I mean, look at what's going on here. We're watching as Donald Trump, and I was appalled, to be honest with you, while watching the news and watching how Donald was brought to the Fulton County Jail. 40 motorcade in New Jersey, 40 motorcade in Georgia. Why? He's nothing more than an indicted defendant. How much money did it cost the American taxpayers? How much money did it cost the people of Atlanta in order to put all the police officers for what? For this man to roll up like he's, Caesar coming through the gates of Rome after victory? He is an indicted defendant on 91 counts. He should not be given this sort of royal treatment.
Michael, thank you as always for your analysis. We didn't even get to the other stuff, the revenge and the retribution. That's another topic for us that I think we've got to take very seriously. You will be back. Michael Cohen is a former personal attorney for Donald Trump, the host of the excellent Mea